Yo, YouTube, what's up with your boy? Sports and Fitness Rants. I'm back, guys. Click that like button. Subscribe to my channel. What's up, y'all? Welcome back, guys. Welcome back, man. Got another great video for you guys today, as usual, man. You guys know the deal on this channel. It's all about setting the record straight, stopping the lies, stopping the narratives, stopping them from rewriting history, guys. And in this video, we are going to talk about some comments from Darryl Morey. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Now, this clown Darryl Morey is saying that it's a fact, quote unquote, it's a fact that James Harden is a greater scorer than Michael Jordan. He's just a better scorer than Michael Jordan, Darryl Morey is saying. And he's saying that it's a fact. It's not his opinion, guys. This is not his opinion. This is a fact he's saying. And I thought these were old comments because I heard him say this years ago about James Harden. And I thought these were old comments. I wasn't even going to touch on this. And then I realized this guy is saying this currently. This is on more comments again. He's reiterating this. He's standing on this. And he's once again on a podcast talking about James Harden's a greater scorer, better scorer than Michael Jordan, guys. We are going to talk about it in this video because Darryl Morey, once again, is not giving people the facts. He gave no facts to support this, even though he's saying it's factual. He gave zero facts in this whole clip that I saw. And like I said, he's not educating anyone out there. That's a complete lie and a fabrication. There's no one in the world, other than Darryl Morey, I guess, and some of these weird James Harden supporters that thinks James Harden's anywhere near the score of Michael Jordan. Who the hell thinks this? We're going to break it down in this video, guys, and I'm going to highlight and give you guys the examples of how James Harden's nowhere close to Michael Jordan, why he's nowhere close to Michael Jordan, and why this guy's lying. Just lying, making up stuff. Doesn't know what he's talking about. Once again, they won't give you full context and any perspective. This guy, Darryl Morey, he gave no context and perspective here. He's just talking emotionally for whatever reason. We're going to talk about this video, guys. And I want to thank you guys, everyone across the world, everyone across the states that's been supporting my channel. Once again, guys, you know, I am truly, truly humbled, man. Much respect to everybody out there, man. Real recognize real. Thank you very much. Shout out to the membership, man. And you guys know what to do. Turn the volume all the way up. Hit that play button. Remember, these videos are for educational purposes. And let's roll. So, yes, guys, man. Oh, my goodness, boy. I tell you. I was driving to work this morning, man, and listening to Jimi Hendrix. And I was getting all pumped up. And I'm driving into work, and I'm thinking in my mind, like, why do I have to talk about this stuff? Why do I even have to do a video on Darryl Morey's comments that are so outrageous, so far out of touch of reality, that, you know, for him to say this, why do I have to do video on this? Saying some nonsensical stuff that doesn't make any sense, doesn't add up. There are no facts to support what he's saying. Why do I have to do this stuff? Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, what is Darryl Morey getting from saying this? What is Darryl Morey doing for the history of the league by saying something this asinine? Like I said, and I always tell you guys the same thing on this channel. We all have opinions, man. I have my opinion. People have their opinions, right? We get this. I never knock anyone for having their opinion, guys. I tell you guys the same thing over and over again on this channel, man. Same thing over and over again. Everyone can have an opinion. Everyone can. Great for us. Great for them. Great for you. Great for me. The problem comes when you have to explain why you have this opinion, why you feel this way, why you're seeing something the way that you're seeing it. You have to help us understand what you're trying to say. You have to understand or make us see what you're seeing. This is called explaining your opinion. How did you come to this opinion? Is it just an opinion that you just pulled from thin air? Did you hear it from someplace else? Right? Where'd you get your opinion from? How'd you come to this thought process and develop your opinion based off of what? There must be something that you can tell us, something you can show us, something you can highlight to say, listen, this is why I feel this way. This is what I'm saying. I want you guys to look at it. This is the evidence I'm bringing. This is what I'm coming with. This guy, Darryl Morey, he's coming out here on a podcast, and he's talking about James Harden is a greater scorer than Michael Jordan, a better scorer than Michael Jordan. And like I said, he can feel that way. If he thinks that James Harden's the greatest scorer of all time, that's what he's stating, greater than Michael Jordan, by all means, then you can have his opinion. Great for Darryl Morey, right? However, when you listen to some of these guys speak and explain their thought process or why they feel a certain way, this is when they lose us. This is when they lose me. This is when they, once again, make no sense. And it shows that you're not being in touch with the history of the NBA. You're not giving any context behind what you're saying. People just say blanket statements now. Anyone can say anything now. Everyone comes on a podcast, they have a comment to say, they got something emotional to say, some weird opinion, right? A hot take. That's all it is now. Hot takes and weird stuff that's never backed by any kind of factual information. So like I said, I wasn't even going to talk about this because I thought these were old comments, right? I thought these were old comments from years ago because you remember, let's understand, let's give some history here. Darryl Morey was the general manager of the Houston Rockets all the years that James Harden was there. Every single year that James Harden was in Houston, Darryl Morey was the executive, the general manager there. All right? In 2021, I believe Darryl Morey left and went to the Philadelphia Sixers, if I remember correctly. I can't remember. And in 2021, James Harden was traded to the Brooklyn Nets, right? He wanted off Houston, right? He wanted to get out of there, blah, blah, blah. These guys were a bunch of babies. He ran away to the Brooklyn Nets and did nothing in Brooklyn, did nothing in Philadelphia, did nothing in the Clippers. This is what James Harden's career has turned into, a bunch of nothingness. But he was the general manager for James Harden's Houston Rockets all those years. So we understand the relationship that they did have. Remember, they don't have a relationship anymore. James Harden called him a liar and doesn't respect him and all this weird stuff with James Harden. Like James Harden's the most honorable guy. You have James Harden calling someone a liar. Like, what are we doing here, James Harden? You're a clown, dude. Like, James Harden's just honorable guy. The dude's in strip clubs every night. Don't take the game serious. He's out there spending money. All he cares about is money, guys. Max contracts. That's all James Harden wanted. He don't care about winning. He wants max contracts so he can go to the joint strip club so he can, never be in great shape, right? The dude never comes in camp in great shape. Doesn't take it serious like that. Never developed an overall game on both sides of the ball. Never became a leader. None of this stuff, James Harden. Never developed any of these kinds of things, man. Guy was a shot chuck extraordinaire. So we get Darryl Morey in the relationship that they did once have. So I understood Darryl Morey in 2018 when he made his comments originally, and James Harden won the MVP and he was scoring all these points. I understood Darryl Morey making his claim, backing up his boy James Harden. Oh, James is the greatest scorer of all time. Fine, you want to say that? That's great. Right? We all laughed at this stuff. No one thought this. No one thinks that James Harden's greater scorer than Michael Jordan. No one. He's not even in the same stratosphere as Michael Jordan, James Harden. Nowhere close to this. All right? But the reason I did a video, I decided to talk about it, is because I found out and realized that he's double downing on these comments. He's doubling down the comments. These are recent comments that he just made a couple of days ago, yesterday, whatever it was, on a podcast that he was on. I think it was from a couple of days ago that Darryl Morey made his comments. Like I said, he's being interviewed by some two goofs, it looks like, that don't know the history of the game or don't have nothing to say to push back on this clown. And I wrote down what he said, guys. This is exactly what he said that to me doesn't make any sense. This is a direct quote from this clip that I saw. If you go back in NBA history, if you give this guy the ball, he's talking about James Harden. If you give this guy the ball, how much does his team score after you give him the ball before the other team gets the ball? It's James Harden. Does anybody understand what he said there? Does anybody understand? I wrote it down word for word, guys. This is not me writing it down weird and I didn't write it. This is word for word what he said. I repeat, you go back in NBA history. If you give this guy the ball, how much does his team score after you give him the ball before the other team gets the ball? It's James Harden. I don't understand what the hell that means. You give this guy the ball, then you give him the ball again. How many times does his team score? How much can he score before the other team gets the ball? Darryl Morey is trying to make a claim that if you go back in NBA's history, there's no other player in NBA's history that if you give them the ball, how much does his team score after you give him the ball before the other team gets the ball? I don't understand what the hell that means. Is he talking about a 4-point play? Is he saying, oh, you give James Harden the ball, he could get a 3 and get fouled and get a 4-point play, so you get 4 points before the other team even gets the ball? Is that what he's saying? Is he saying that because James Harden's a 3-point chucker, that you can get a 3 before the other team scores 2? I don't even understand what this means. This means nothing, guys. That's what it means, nothing. He could not explain what he was trying to say. Because there is no explanation for James Harden being anywhere near greater than Michael Jordan. No one's sitting here saying that James Harden can't score the basketball. No one's saying that. James Harden could score. Great for him. Was he a 3-time scoring champ or something like that? Great for James Harden, man. No one's saying he can't score. But there are levels, like I always tell you guys. And Michael Jordan's on the first tier level of scoring. James Harden ain't on that tier. He's nowhere near that tier, man. And for Darryl Morey to say that's a fact, he says this: it's factual that James Harden is a better scorer than Michael Jordan. And then he proceeds to say what I just read on before. So he's telling you it's factual that James Harden is a better scorer. It's a direct quote from him. A better scorer than Michael Jordan. And he based it off of what? If you give James Harden the ball, his team can score more points before the other team gets the ball. I don't know what the hell that means. That doesn't mean anything. If that was the case, then James Harden would have multiple championships by now, wouldn't he? If James Harden was so great that he scored more points before the other team could even get the ball, how the hell is this man losing games? He should never be losing in the playoffs. He should never be losing these games. But unfortunately, the reality is James Harden is not that guy, especially when it matters most. And I think that's the big problem for Darryl Morey here. Because he's talking about James Harden as a regular season scorer. Is this what you're saying? Are we doing the same LeBron James thing here when we're talking about the 10-point scoring streak in the regular season? If you're going to be labeled as the greatest scorer of all time, greater than Michael Jordan, it cannot be conditional. There cannot be, exception. Oh, in the regular season, I'm talking about James Harden in the regular season. He's the greatest scorer of all time. No, we're talking about scoring the basketball all time, all the time, anytime, anywhere, any scenario, any circumstance, no matter what the pressure is, no matter what the stakes are. Who is going to come through when it matters most? That's not James Harden, Darryl Morey. And there's nothing that you can say. There's no evidence that you gave to, dispute this. We have all seen James Harden choke it up many, many times when it matters most. So like I say, Darryl Morey, if James Harden's that great of a scorer, that he can score all these points before the other team even gets the ball, that's what you're basing your astute basketball knowledge or opinion off of, then why is his teams not winning when it matters most? Why is he constantly choking it up when it matters most? All these shots that you say that he can hit, that he can make, the game that you say he has, it disappears in certain moments, does it not? We've seen James Harden disappear time and time and time and time again. Again, over and over and over again, guys. Choking it up. But he's the greatest scorer of all time, greater than Michael Jordan. Just off the numbers, not even close. Just off the numbers, and we know the numbers don't tell the whole story, but just off the numbers, he's nowhere close to Michael Jordan. James Harden has a career average of 24 points a game, guys. His career is 24 points a game, and people can say whatever they want over the last several years of James Harden's career, how he came in and he wasn't a starter, he was on the sixth man in OKC for those first 3 years. Say whatever you want. James Harden came into the NBA playing the role he played because he was nowhere near Michael Jordan. He was nowhere near that dude. Nowhere near it. What did he average? 20 points a game in college? Great for James Harden, man. Played 2 years at Arizona State, man. Great for James Harden, man. 20-point per game score his sophomore year? Great for him. Once again, guys, James Harden can't shine Michael Jordan's shoes. Like I said, when he came in the NBA, he was a sixth man for a reason, guys. For a reason. You think Michael Jordan's going to be a sixth man? Not even close, guys. And Michael Jordan played an actual system in North Carolina that, suppressed his quote-unquote numbers. So there's different levels off the jump. Like I said, 24 points a game for your career, for your average, for James Harden. That's not impressive. In the postseason, James Harden has a 22-point per game score. So in the postseason, when it matters most, James Harden's points go down, right? That sounds like James Harden, doesn't it? That's what you would think in your mind. That's typical James Harden. That's not Michael Jordan. It's the complete opposite. Michael Jordan came in as a rookie and averaged more points than James Harden did for his career average. 28 points a game as a rookie. James Harden came in, sixth man on the bench, averaged 8 points a game? I mean, come on. It's not even not in the same stratosphere, guys. Not in the same stratosphere, Darryl Morey. But you're trying to tell me that James Harden's a better scorer than Michael Jordan, but you gave no evidence. You couldn't point to any numbers. He gave no numbers, no evidence. Like there was no part of the game that he can analyze and break down so you could understand it. All right, I tell you, the numbers are not everything, but the numbers are heavily in favor of Michael Jordan. When James Harden's career scoring is 24, Michael Jordan's is 30, it's almost 6 points. And if we just talk about the Chicago Bulls scoring, insane, guys. All right, so we have to understand that right there, right? The 10 straight scoring titles, right? We understand all of it. James Harden can't sniff that kind of stuff, man. Michael Jordan's average in the playoffs is 33 points a game, 33 points a game, while being hounded by some of the most fierce defensive players and some of the most great deep team defenses of the 90s. Still averaged 33 points a game in the playoffs. James Harden ain't nowhere close to this kind of stuff, guys. Cannot do these kinds of things. Once again, when it matters most, give me Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan came through when it matters most, more often, way more often than James Harden did. So, the one thing that I think Darryl Morey is missing also is he's talking about offense and just scoring. What Michael Jordan was able to do, he was able to do this while playing elite level defense. So that off the jump shows how great Michael Jordan is scoring offensively versus James Harden. All of James Harden's time and energy goes to shooting the ball, playing offense. Great for James Harden. He don't have to worry about defense. None of this stuff, James Harden. Michael Jordan to do that kind of stuff. James Harden don't got to be a leader. He don't have to be a true professional. He can load manage and lollygag on the court. He can walk around on defense. He don't got to do nothing on defense. So essentially, he's playing half the game of Michael Jordan, resting on defense for his offense. Michael Jordan didn't have that luxury. He didn't play that kind of game. He gave effort on both sides of the ball, elite effort on both sides of the ball, man, simultaneously. James Harden can't sniff that. James Harden's nowhere a two-way player. No one ever considered James Harden a two-way player. Not only is Michael Jordan the greatest scorer of all time, recognized that way by most people, to me, he's the greatest two-way player in the history of the game. So what am I saying? That simultaneously, his offense and defense, simultaneously, to me, is unmatched in the history of the game. What he could do on offense versus what he could do on the defensive end, simultaneously, for consecutive amounts of years, while winning championships, guys. No one's been able to duplicate this. James Harden is nowhere close to this. James Harden never made an all-defensive team. He would never make an all-defensive team. So he's out there able to shot chuck. Great for James Harden, man. It doesn't equate to winning, though, Darryl Morey. He's a shot chucker. He's not an elite level scorer like Michael Jordan or a greater scorer than Michael Jordan because he put some points up and he got a bunch of free. I mean, look at the game that James Harden was playing. His game is weak. All that traveling, if Michael Jordan was able to take 3, 4, 5 steps, how many points do you think he could have scored? If Michael Jordan was able to carry the basketball like James Harden was, if Michael Jordan was able to foul bait the way that James Harden was doing, look at James Harden led the NBA, guys, in free throw attempts for 7 consecutive seasons. Or maybe 6 consecutive seasons. I might be off. Might be 6 consecutive seasons. Michael Jordan led the NBA in free throw attempts 1 time in his career, guys. And remember, the NBA complained about that. The NBA players and the coaches, people complaining about a young Michael Jordan, only in his, 30 in the league, leading the NBA in free throw attempts. They were complaining about that. Michael Jordan never again, guys, led the NBA in free throw attempts. Guys like Charles Barkley did, Karl Malone did regularly, but never Michael Jordan again. James Harden went 6 consecutive seasons foul baiting. Remember when he used to hook his arm around people when he went up and then throw his head back? That's not Michael Jordan. That's not the greatest scorer of all time. That's lame as hell. That's James Harden out there chasing fouls and getting them. So what the NBA do? They said, we're going to crack down on the foul baiting, on the flopping. And that's what they did. They stopped James Harden from flopping all these fouls, taking 4 or 5 travels when a step back 3. Because I tell you guys all the time, all of that stuff is great regular season stuff. James Harden, regular season warrior. But when it comes to the playoffs, when it matters most, scoring is not there. And that's where you get exposed. Darryl Morey, James Harden. But I want you to understand something. You know, James Harden never led the playoffs in scoring. He never once led the playoffs in points per game. Not once, guys. Not in 2018 or 2019 when he was making these runs. 2017 when he was at the peak of his powers. Never once led the playoffs in scoring, guys. Never once. How many times did Michael Jordan lead the playoffs in scoring? Michael Jordan averaged 40 for several playoff series. James Harden ain't sniffing that, guys. Is Darryl Morey going to bring this up? No, he's going to talk about emotions and his feelings. It's not true. He thinks that he's the architect of the greatest scorer of all time. That's what he's thinking in his mind. Oh, I'm Darryl Morey. I'm the general manager. We were able to orchestrate the greatest scorer of all time. So Darryl Morey never mentioned Mike D'Antoni once. You know what's funny about that, guys? Never mentioned Mike D'Antoni once. People never mention Mike D'Antoni when they talk about James Harden, but I always hear people mention Mike D'Antoni when Steve Nash gets brought up. Oh, Steve Nash won those MVPs because he played in the Mike D'Antoni system. No. Don't get it twisted, man. Steve Nash, the things that he was doing in the Mike D'Antoni system wasn't about scoring and chucking up shots. Steve Nash actually made his teams better. His teammates better. He made Amari Stoudemire better. Sean Marion better. Quentin Richardson better. Leandro Barbosa better. Joe Johnson. All of those guys became better and got contracts because of playing with Steve Nash. He made everyone that much better. He made them look greater. The way that he played, the way he could shoot, right? The way he played the game. It's not James Harden. James Harden is a shot chucker extraordinaire. He did not make anyone better. Dwight Howard, Chris Paul, Russell Westbrook. I mean, did anyone get better playing with James Harden? No. They were just on the team watching him do what he does. Hog the ball, shoot, what he said, 13 threes a game? 11 free. I mean, the man was taking 13 threes and on average 11, 12, 13 free throws a game. And still couldn't surpass Michael Jordan scoring the ball wise that season. Insane. And we all know he wasn't playing a level of defense. And like I said, when it mattered most in 2018, he was not there. But Darryl Morey won't mention Mike D'Antoni and the Mike D'Antoni system. Where was James Harden before Mike D'Antoni came over? Where was he? He was nowhere. The Houston Rockets were doing nothing, right? Under Kevin McHale, they weren't doing great. It was Mike D'Antoni bringing his system in, which helped James Harden out. So James Harden was able to play that style of basketball, took all these shots, manipulate the NBA officiating that way, and have a couple of nice seasons scoring the ball. But he's nowhere near Michael Jordan, guys. All right? Like I said, James Harden averages 22 points a game in the playoffs on 42% shooting, 34% from the three-point line in the playoffs. Come on, what are we doing here? Right? And for the regular season, 24 points a game, 43% shooting, 36 in the regular season, man. See, and another thing that I want to talk about before I end this, the last thing I want to mention. When we talk about Michael Jordan, guys, and we're talking about scoring the basketball, this is so stupid, this conversation. It really is. I mean, James Harden doing close to Michael Jordan. When we talk about Michael Jordan and his ability to score the basketball, guys, it's not just, taking jump shots or driving to the paint and, having an overall offensive game. Because Michael Jordan was so great, so dynamic. And when I talk about his play on both sides of the ball, it's Michael Jordan was able to create offense out of defense. James Harden can't do that. So when James Harden is off, like he was in the 2018 Western Conference Finals, can't make a three-point shot. He ain't making none of them shots. He can't fall back on anything else to create offense for him. Right? If you're not drawing fouls, right, and all this nonsense, if you can't, what are you going to do, James Harden? Can't do that in the playoffs, right? So he's basically useless and relegated to doing nothing, just chucking up shots. Michael Jordan, on the other hand, if he's not making his jump shot, which we've seen sometimes in Michael Jordan's career, he's off, he's having one of those nights, Michael Jordan could fall back on his defense and create offense that way. So he can get steals, get on the break, get a dunk, right? That helps you get your offense going, get to see the ball go in the basket, right? So Michael Jordan could turn things around on the defensive end and create offense that way. James Harden's not on that level to do this. But also, we take it a step further and we talk about the rebounding of the basketball for someone like Michael Jordan versus a James Harden. Look at James Harden's offensive rebounding numbers versus Michael Jordan's offensive rebounding numbers. Now, we all know James Harden's nowhere near the athlete of Michael Jordan. Can't jump like Michael Jordan. He had the quickness of Michael Jordan, the hands of Michael Jordan, the arms of Michael Jordan. He didn't have none of this stuff. So we understand he's at a disadvantage as far as athleticism, right, and how they were built and how they, played the game. But we're talking about the effort you give on the offensive glass. James Harden ain't given effort like that. And he was never a rebounder like that. So Michael Jordan's offensive rebounding prowess is double of what James Harden is. Double. Michael Jordan for his career averaged 1.6 offensive rebounds per game. James Harden never averaged 1.6 rebounds in a season, offensive rebounds in a season for his career. The most he ever did was 1.2. Michael Jordan had several seasons over 2 offensive rebounds per game at the shooting guard position. Once again, playing in an era with legit big men down low. This is not James Harden's era, all right? So what do offensive reboundings opportunities turn into? They turn to points, don't they? So we've seen Michael Jordan with the put-back dunks. Those are offensive rebounding, guys. You've seen Michael Jordan at the free throw line, right? Someone misses a free throw, Michael Jordan comes flying in for a put-back dunk on a free throw. That's offensive rebounding. That's points, isn't it? That's scoring. That is scoring, guys. Michael Jordan could score the ball in a myriad of different ways, not just his offensive game. That's what makes him so great. If he's not making the shots, he can do other things. I was watching the other day, last night actually, I was watching the Philadelphia Sixers versus Chicago Bulls 1991 Eastern Conference semifinals, Game 5. And in the game, right, Michael Jordan started off kind of slow, right? And Scottie Pippen was on fire, right? He was like 7 for 7 or 8 for 8 in like the first quarter or the first half, something like that. And Michael Jordan was struggling with shooting the ball, right? He was like 4 for 10 or 4 for 12 to start the game, right? And Doug Collins says at one point they showed Michael Jordan stats, right? And Michael Jordan's 4 for 12, and I think he had 10 points and like 6 rebounds and like 6 assists, I think it was, right? And Michael Jordan came down the court, right? And the Bulls had the ball. They come down the court, and someone took a shot. They missed it, and Michael Jordan was able to tip the ball in, get an offensive rebound, and put it back up. And Doug Collins said, he goes, you see Michael Jordan doesn't have the touch right now to start the game, right? He's not making the jump shot right now. He said, but that doesn't stop Michael Jordan from having an impact and being effective on offense or scoring the ball, because he can do other things like offensive rebound and get putbacks. So this is what I'm talking about. A lot of times people just think about offense, his overall bag, right? Oh, he could do this, he could do that on the offensive end, his overall game. But people fail to realize and recognize what some of these great players who are two-way players who do other things on the court can impact scoring also. Like I said, turning defense into offense was classic Michael Jordan. And like I said, the tip-in dunks, all this, the putback dunks, the tip-ins, the offensive rebounding prowess of Michael Jordan versus James Harden. This also goes to his scoring prowess, why he's a greater scorer than James Harden. Because like I said, he's other things he can do to impact scoring and win the games. And we all know when it matters most, are you taking James Harden over Michael Jordan? Darryl Morey, I ask you, are you going to put all your money up and bet on James Harden over Michael Jordan when it comes to getting a basket? If you need a basket, James Harden's team versus Michael Jordan's team, all things are even. No Chicago Bulls or James Harden's Rockets. They're all playing with the same teammates. The only difference is one team has Michael Jordan, the other team has James Harden. It comes down to a late game scenario, seconds left on the clock. James Harden's team is down by 2. You think that you'd rather have James Harden taking that shot at the end of the game, or if Michael Jordan's team is down by 2 and he's taking the shot, who do you guys think is making this shot at the end of the game? Not James Harden. He's never done this. If you say James Harden, you're just being emotional. There's no evidence to support him being a more clutch time performer in his career over Michael Jordan. There's none that points to this. Same thing for Darryl Morey. Nothing points to any facts of James Harden being better than Michael Jordan at scoring. Like, I don't know why he can't just say something like, James Harden's the greatest scorer that I've seen. Or James Harden's the greatest scorer that, I've been around. Right? He's the general manager of the team. You think James Harden's the greatest scorer that you've seen? That's great. But for you to say that he's greater than Michael Jordan, factually greater than Michael Jordan, that's insane. Because if you say that he's the greatest scorer that I've seen, then that's your opinion. That's great. But when you say the word factual, he said it's factual that James Harden is a better scorer than Michael Jordan. Where are the facts? Where are the facts? There are no facts. This is Darryl Morey, though, guys. You see what I'm saying? No respect for NBA's history. Is James Harden even better scorer than Kobe Bryant? Or Steph Curry? Or Kevin Durant? I mean, come on, man. Or Jerry West? Or Will Chamberlain? Or Allen Iverson? Is he better scorer than any of these guys? Hell no, man. James Harden ain't taking no team to the NBA Finals. Absolute joke, man. You guys know the deal, man. I'll catch you guys on the next one.